you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
It's a latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And greetings out there all across this great land of ours and around the world. It is that time. It's time for none other than the Conservative Syndicate. Boy, I got my tongue tied today already. I've been having technical dyslexia all day long today. I had to go down to the VA today, make my visit down to the VA. And, I do have to say our VA out here in California, out here in Long Beach, is particularly good compared to much of what I hear across the rest of the country. Most of the time I can go in there and I'm in and out usually within an hour, hour and a half max. Today went in for 2 appointments and was out in about an hour, which is outstanding. But then again, government always has a way of doing things. It just makes you chuckle. And I had to go in and have my new glasses that I received yesterday. I had to return them because, believe it or not, they mixed the lenses up. They put the right lens on the left and the left lens on the right. And when I opened them up and put them on, I said, wow, these things I felt weird. I felt like, surreal. So I thought, well, maybe it's me. So I took them in and they said, no, they actually, the doctor wrote the prescription down wrong when he ordered them. So there you have it. 50-50 chance of getting it right sometimes, Put a plus sign where the minus sign goes, and it's all for naught. Anyway, glad to have you with us today. Boy, I'll tell you, I said yesterday, I think I mentioned this yesterday, about how some days you can come on the show, get ready for the show, and you just wonder, geez, am I really going to have anything to talk about? And then there are days you get up and you look at what's going on out there in the world, and you go, holy moly. How am I going to fit all this into a day? And of course, we never do here at the Conservative Syndicate because we like to exhaust our topics. We like to talk about them till there's just nothing really to talk about anymore because we feel that's the best way to get the information out there for people to be able to understand it. We're notorious for repeating things over and over again. Because I believe, just like the Bible, whenever God really wants to get your attention, he calls your name twice. Abraham, Abraham, Moses, Moses. Hey, this way, dude. Look at me. I'm over here. That kind of thing. So that's kind of the nature of the beast sometimes. So we do that. We like to educate, inform, and engage our listening audience. But I'll tell you, there's a sad day for me today. Very sad day for me, especially since I was so ecstatic last night, Ted Cruz taking Utah. I thought he had a shot at maybe upsetting in Arizona, but it didn't work out. But he got more than 50%. By the way, I believe the first candidate now to break the 50% margin or the 50% in terms of the number of voters that actually voted. We say 50% of the votes. That means you get a majority. And you get based on, you get the number of delegates based on the majority. But nobody's actually hit 50% in terms of the total voter turnout. And I think Cruz did that in Utah last night. So I'm really ecstatic about that. And then I wake up this morning, and I'll tell you, I don't know how I missed this. I do not know. I mean, as much as I pay attention to what's going on out there, I am clueless how I missed this. To come to find out that both Jeb and Neil Bush had endorsed Ted Cruz about 2 weeks ago, and I did not know it. It got by me. I don't know how it got by me. You would think the media would be jumping all over that. And I'll tell you what, I have to be honest with you, that's a deal breaker for me. To get endorsed by not just one Bush, but two Bushes, which means Daddy's probably endorsing him too, just doesn't have doesn't need to say anything because he's home recuperating. But that just really, really yanks my chain. Because Cruz is, now I can't listen to him talk about the establishment and the cartel and everything else refers to the establishment without saying, hey, they're playing on your team now. You've got them on your team for crying out loud. And Neil Bush is on his campaign finance team. Oh, my goodness. There goes Common Core. Remember Ted Cruz, anti-Common Core? Got to get rid of Common Core. And we've reported on this show, Neil Bush is one of the main money men behind Common Core. Jeb Bush was one of his main endorsers. Why? Because his brother Neil is in cahoots with Bill Gates, writing the online curriculum that does not at this point exist, but should Common Core ever resurrect to the place where the federal government is able to shove it down the state's throats, right now they can't do that. But and we've done series on Common Core. I think we spent a week on Common Core on this show explaining what it is. And what it is, it's a cash cow. It's a cash cow for the establishment on both sides. And then on the left, it's a vehicle of social engineering. You know, everything is graded on a curve. We don't want little Johnny to feel bad about the fact that he didn't get the same grade as Susie. And so we're gonna slant the tests until everybody gets an A. We'll just ask Johnny dumber questions until he scores as high as Susie, who spent time doing homework and understands the topic. And by the way, it took Johnny 5 tests at $35 a pop to be able to pass this. And the school's going to, they'll get their fair share, I guess. But I'm sorry, Bush endorsements. That is the red line for me. Bush endorsements, that's it. I mean, I've ranted and raved on this show about how much I dislike the Bush family. I know a lot about these people, about Papa, about the great-grandpa and great-great-grandpa and all the other people out there that have been around this family, the dynasty that this family has, second probably only to the Kennedys in terms of our heritage here in the United States. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, oh my God, this is a deal breaker. So as of today, I guess I'll just say, hey, let's hope that Trump wins and we just burn this whole hellhole to the ground and perhaps be able to raise something out of the ashes. Who knows? If nothing else, maybe we can hasten the arrival of our Lord Jesus Christ and then we won't have to worry about it at all. There is no establishment in heaven outside of the Creator. So maybe that's where we're headed here. Maybe it will come in my lifetime. Never thought it would. Perhaps it will. I don't know. Anyway, we got a good show for you today. I have a newly found friend here, Donna Fiducia from Red State Talk Radio. Red State Talk Radio is one of the affiliates that we're on. And she co-hosts a show called Cowboy Logic Radio with Don Newen. She's a former Fox News Channel anchor, and she was at CPAC a little over 2 weeks ago, and I was talking to Don, the passing of Primo Mondone a few weeks ago, and I was talking with Don about it, and he mentioned to me about the CPAC, and I'd asked him to have Donna come on. So right after we do our commercial break here, we'll have Donna with us from Red State Talk Radio, Cowboy Logic Radio, so stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be back in just a moment.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. And we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and we're glad to have you with us today. And I have with me, hopefully here, I don't know why she keeps dropping off the line here. Something's going on here. Let me call her. Maybe every now and then my Skype just goes bonkers. It just does. While your party is free. Okay, we're getting the message here. She's trying to call in. Donna's trying to call in here, and I don't know why I keep having this problem where people call in, they hook up, and then all of a sudden they go away, and then I find out what they're telling me is that they're getting busy signals. I have no idea why that's happening here. Let's see if we can get her on the line here. While your party is free. Okay. Well, we'll just keep trying to do it here. This really, boy, I tell you, Skype is really becoming something that I'm really becoming very dissatisfied with. Okay, because it's just not happening. Oh, now it tells me I've got updates. All right. Oh, boy. Okay. All right. Well, let's try it one more time here. Let's see what we can do here. And see if we get it. Verizon ring back tone while you're... Okay. All right. Not working right. And, geez, I don't know what to do with that. So Hang on a second here. Give me a second here. You know what? I'm going to play a commercial here. We're going to go to commercial here, and we'll be right back. Stay with us right here, Conservative.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention.
Okay, we're back, and we're going to give it another try here, try to get Donna on the line here, and apparently that's what's happening here. Skype is put her on hold, and I don't know how in the world that happened. Shouldn't have happened. Hello, Donna?
Hey.
Yeah, I don't know, my Skype, I don't know what happened. It just went, has a mind of its own. And as you're calling up, you're lighting up on my board here, and all of a sudden, it just cut you off. And then I get that great prompt from Skype. You need to update your program. So
Don't you hate that? And then I sit there and I'm listening. It says the person you're trying to reach is not available. I'm going,
yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah, whenever there's some kind of update, that I guess they have updates at Skype. Like if you don't update, then it kind of throws your system into wacko land, and I don't know. It's just the nature of the beast here. I just like it because it's so easy. Once you get connected, it's great.
Yeah, once you get connected, that is the golden problem there, right off the bat, though. And it's funny because we have Skype also for our radio show, and I'm just so inept. You know, if Don isn't around to engineer, I can't even figure out how to use the darn thing with with our radio studio that we have.
Uh-huh.
So I just said, I'll do the cell phone. That's okay.
That's okay. I guess I need to check for updates before I go on the air here, and normally I do. Like I said, I just did an update about a week ago, so I thought I was up to snuff here. But it's
really, how often do they need these updates? It seems like it's constant.
Yeah, I know. It's the same thing with Windows. Every now and then, Windows throws an update in my system, and then it throws my Sam's broadcaster off. I got to go back and do system restore to get everything working again. The nature of the beast here. That's live radio for you. So that's the way it works. Hey, I wanted to. I asked you to come on the show. As I was saying, I had talked to Don a couple weeks ago about. I think about a day after you guys got back from CPAC. After the passing of Primo, which was I think a great loss for us, but and in the course of the conversation, we were actually talking about programming, where we were going, and stuff like that. And I asked him, I said, "Oh yeah, you guys just came back from CPAC, and there's some things I'd like to ask you about what went on there, because one of the things we've been doing on this show for the better almost a year now is talking about this concept of a brokered convention. We picked up on this back in June, July of last year, when we were thinking, this could be the way the establishment tries to salvage whatever's going on out there. Of course, everybody thought Trump was going to implode, and that isn't happening. So he said that you were the one that was really kind of in tune with things. He had been walking around doing what, producers do and stuff like that. So I thought, well, I'd get you on here. I specifically wanted to ask you about some of the strategies that have been floating out there in media as to how, for lack of a better term, it's called dump Trump or stop Trump, depending on...
the dump Trump movement.
Yeah.
It's funny because I have friends who have never been involved in politics. And they're like rabidly for Trump. And they never really bothered voting. and I get emails and text message constantly. Did you see this? Did you hear he did that? And it blows my mind. And yet, to me, the establishment will do anything it can to undermine the Tea Party, any conservative movement, and I'm not sure Donald Trump is conservative, but any outsider in general. And they're willing to implode. I just don't understand that. You know, we gave him the House, we gave him the Senate, and Paul Ryan, you know, the second he gets in there says, well, you know, we don't have the presidency and Obama's just going to veto anything we do, so we have to go and try to get the presidency now. And at this point, people are like, you know, fool me once, fool me twice, you're not doing it a third time. 3 strikes, you're out. And it's
Go ahead.
It's uncanny to me how they'll just try anything, because Ted Cruz is the consummate outsider. He has been. He's got a track record of that. And now you get these, you know, rhinos in the Senate like Lindsey Graham. Well, you know, John Kasich doesn't have a chance now, so I guess I'll endorse Ted Cruz. Well, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, you know, you hit on a lot of the major points we've been hitting on this show over the last 8 months or so. And what has really fascinated me, I want to address your first point here. What has really fascinated me is all we've been hearing from the establishment of the GOP party. And I've learned to recognize the difference between the establishment and the politicians. The politicians are basically the lapdogs of the establishment. So we have to look at the people that are pushing the buttons, throwing the money out there, and that's the establishment. And so we hear from the GOP. One of the first things that just grabbed me was the first time I heard Mitch McConnell say, well, the reason we can't do anything is because we don't have the White House. And I'm thinking, well, that's what I heard when you didn't have the Senate. You know, well, you need the Senate. We gave you the Senate. And I began to recognize this pattern that we're courted during the election season and we're marginalized in between everything else. And so I started looking at this and I'm going, well, what you would think the party that keeps telling us that we have to expand our base, and Donald Trump has done it better than anybody has, whether you like him or not, and we're now against him. And I'm like, no, there's got to be something more to this. And I've come to the conclusion that Trump is basically an establishment type who plays the game on the same level the establishment types play, and therefore he is a threat to them because he knows what they're doing, and he can expose that to his own advantage and look good. That's how I see it. How do you see Trump?
Well, that's one way of seeing it. The other way, getting back to the establishment, I asked people, if Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi were in there, what difference would we have? What difference would it make? I could resist. I mean, it really wouldn't. They got a $4 trillion budget package. They got not amnesty, but they're allowing refugees to come in here en masse. The borders aren't being secured. It's insanity. We are imploding, and I really feel that this administration is a Trojan horse of biblical proportions. This is the biggest, really, farce on mankind in recent history, certainly on a country. And what I saw at CPAC, I know you've been asking me about CPAC this whole time. I'm never getting back to it. I'm sorry. CPAC, I had heard in the past, was basically rhinos. And you didn't want to go. It's a waste of time, this and that. Well, I wanted to go at least once because it was an election year, too, and I figured it might be a little different. Because I believe in the past they didn't even want people like Glenn Beck to be there, who's obviously very, very conservative. And Glenn Beck was very much there this time around. So I went there with an open mind, and I did see that it was mostly conservative, very conservative, and much more pro-Cruz than Trump. But there were a lot of people still talking about Donald Trump. And ironically, our little booth that we had set up was right next to the end of this row, and there was one extra booth there that was empty. And after the first day, the sign went up that said, the Donald J. Trump for President booth. So we're like, oh, this is really cool. Trump's going to come in right next to us. It was up for about 24 hours, and then he decided not to show up, and all of a sudden it was gone. The sign was gone. So here's what I saw happening. There was a debate-watching party in this big room that probably seats 12,000 people. That was the big room that Ted Cruz and all the candidates actually gave their little spiels on during the course of the week. And it was done at night, obviously. And Hannity came out first, and he's my former colleague. I've worked with Sean for years, and I really do revere Sean. He's one of the few good ones, I'll be honest with you. And he's trying to be very middle of the road. Okay, so Sean gets out there, and he kind of gives a, please vote your conscience, whether it's Trump or Cruz or Rubio or Carson, who was still in at the time, and Kasich, whatever. Just try to get all the facts and then cast a very knowledgeable vote. He tried to be down the middle. Well, then they had, this about a half an hour before the debate started, they had a panel come out, and I was not there. I just heard about this secondhand. But they had a panel come out that basically started trashing Trump. I mean, so badly that it got the whole place riled up against Trump. And it was extremely unprofessional. And these were a bunch of pundits, and they're going to remain nameless, that you see on all the business all the news channels, Fox and CNN. Okay, so they got the whole crowd like riled up. It was almost like a football game almost. They were cheerleading for Cruz, and I believe Donald Trump got wind of it. And he said, "Forget it. I'm not gonna show up." And right. I can't blame him.
Yeah.
Whether, again, you like Trump or not, what it did was it unfortunately kept everybody who wanted to hear Donald Trump talk from seeing Donald Trump talk. Now, I've been to some of the Myrtle Beach Tea Party conventions that they have, going back a couple of Januaries ago. Trump actually flew in when we were leaving on Monday as an afterthought and was going to talk, and we're like, we're going to have to miss him. We saw his big jet flying into the Myrtle Beach airport. Little did we know he'd be the front runner by far at this point, a little over 2 years later. But I've never actually seen Trump speak. I've met Cruz. I've interviewed him. I've seen him speak a number of times. I've interviewed his father, Raphael, who I think is a great person. And I think Cruz would make a wonderful president too. But I'll be honest with you, I think the way Trump was treated at CPAC was really wrong. And I don't blame him for canceling.
Yeah, well, my position, I'm going to be very honest with you. My position changed today, just today. I have been a Cruz guy from the get-go.
What happened today? Did I miss something?
I know his father. I had lunch with his father back in February at a conference that was out here. And I've been a very avid Cruz supporter because I do believe he's the closest thing we have to a real conservative. And he's not perfect. He's not perfect, but he's certainly the closest thing we have. And today I find out, and I don't know for the life of me how this got by me, but it did, that he's been endorsed by both the Bush brothers, Jeb Bush and Neil Bush. For me, that's a deal breaker.
It's the kiss of death. But the problem is, now I know he worked with the Bushes, but you got to realize he's also been endorsed by Lindsey Graham, and I believe Romney's going to endorse him. The point is, he's the lesser of two evils.
Oh yeah,
and this to me is becoming the kiss of death for Ted Cruz, because if I were Cruz, I'd say I don't want your endorsement. You guys hate me, especially Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham-nesty. I mean, you got to be kidding me. And I worked with John Kasich. He used to fill in for O'Reilly. I worked with John Kasich at Fox. I'll be honest with you. If Kasich's on the ticket, I will not vote.
Yeah,
he is a slime bucket. He's a slime bucket. He's a spoiler. He has no right to be in there, and he needs to drop out now. He's got less delegates than Marco Rubio, for God's sake.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I've been following Kasich pretty close, and this guy is, and Mitt Romney has come out and endorsed Cruz, and then the week before he endorsed
that's
Kasich.
The kiss of death.
Yeah, and the week before he endorsed Kasich, and the week after that he endorsed Rubio. And it points very closely to what's going on here, that the establishment's kind of in this, it's all or nothing. I'm actually to the point where I'm saying, okay, let's put Trump in and let's just burn the whole thing to the ground. And let's just get it over with, and maybe we can get something up out of the ashes here, because this idea that we're sitting here thinking we have something to say about this, and we're hearing that the people that push the buttons and put the money out there are saying no, we'd rather have Satan himself than Donald Trump. I'm like, they'd rather have Hillary Clinton, and that's really one of the points I'm getting at in my thesis here as I go on and on and on. My narrative is, the establishment doesn't care really who's in the White House because they bet on both sides. And then, that's the way it goes. I got to interrupt you here, Donna. We got to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back. We have Donna, I'm sorry, I got something in my throat here. Fiducia, former Fox News anchor and currently co-host with Cowboy Logic Radio on Red State Talk Radio. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We'll be, we got to pay some bills. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment, and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Hey, we are back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways, on a mission from God, and that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We do that here at the Conservative Syndicate by educating, informing, and engaging you, our listening audience. We have with us right now Donna Fiducia, former Fox anchor, and currently co-host with Don Newen out there at Red State Talk Radio on the Cowboy Logic Show, and they air every Tuesday. I believe it's 6 p.m. out here in the West Coast. It'll be 9 p.m. out in the East Coast. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the CPAC, the establishment, and everything else that's combined with that. It's gotten so discombobulated to some degree. I don't even know who the enemy is anymore.
John, it's funny. I'm just listening to your commercials there, and they're talking about revering the soldier and not the student. And there is something happening. We're actually outside Atlanta, Georgia, and Michelle Malkin actually talked about this in her blog. Emory University students in Atlanta were appalled and shocked at Trump 2016 chalk statements on the campus sidewalks strewn around the campus. Can you believe this? They were shocked and appalled. 70 years ago, 18-year-olds, younger than most of these students, we're storing the beaches at Normandy. We are so soft, it's ridiculous. We're worrying about big gulps in New York City. Ted Cruz was talking about that in New York today. And, of course, New York Times has to say, he went in the stately reception hall with 2 chandeliers and cushioned seats, and outside was a guy selling knockoff bags and heavily discounted wool hats. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. They're going... Not only do the Republicans, let alone the conservatives and the Tea Party candidates that have some sort of basis in the Constitution have to get their word out, like they have to scream it out to get anybody's attention, but they also have to go against the mainstream media to get heard. And that's one thing Donald Trump's done very well. He's gotten a lot of free publicity just by basically saying outrageous things. And it's gotten people's attention. In some respects, he knows how to manipulate the media very well.
Yeah, well, I kind of want to put you on a hot seat here because and the only reason is because today really just blindsided me. This thing with the Bush endorsement.
Yeah, but that's an endorsement, though. You know, it's not Cruz's fault, really. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I guess you got a point there.
Yeah, well, the problem I have with it is. I have done so much research on the Bush family, and I can go back all the way back to Prescott Bush and point to things that are going on. And I sit here and I look at it. Here we have a man, Ted Cruz is constantly talking about the evils of the establishment, he calls them the cartel, the Washington cartel. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you don't get any more establishment than the Bush family. And I'm so why? I mean, it's kind of like it's almost like okay. Now what is the next progressive step here? You know, you talk about Lindsey Graham. I thought that was a joke. Lindsey Graham endorsement means that Cruz might have picked up 2 votes. So that he spent more time campaigning for Kasich than he did for anybody else for a while. So I understand they're all jumping on the cruise ship to stop the Trump steamroller. You know, I understand the concept here. But what I can't get my head around is somebody like Ted Cruz, who I know to be pretty much, a standard conservative and really, somebody that's based on the principles and everything else. Why would he, for the life of me, join forces with people that he knows are the very people he's been attacking? That's what I can't get my head around.
Yeah, and I definitely see your point there, but you got to look at Cruz's actions in the Senate. I mean, if any of the rhinos had at least backed him up to some extent, we might have had a chance about overturning Obamacare. And they just vilify him. To me, the establishment right now is in a death roll. They absolutely are going nuts because they at least know what they have with Ted Cruz. And he, first they were backing Jeb, then they were backing Rubio, then they were backing Kasich, who's basically mathematically eliminated unless you do Common Core math, then you might have a chance, which in today's society isn't so far-fetched. And so now they're backhandedly endorsing Cruz. But look at what Cruz has done through the years, even to stand up in Iowa against ethanol, knowing what a big thing that is in that state, and he won the state very handily. So he is principled in some respects, but you really can't be a total outsider if you're a senator when you think about it, let alone if your wife works for Goldman Sachs. So of course that's going to be played up. But nobody talks about Hillary Clinton and as Secretary of State selling state secrets to foreign governments, and we're worrying about Wall Street and Goldman Sachs. Well, I mean, this is so out of control on the left that I'm afraid we're going to just hand this to Hillary for no reason.
Yeah, and
by splitting the party.
And that's really kind of my fear. It's like I'm almost like, let's let Bernie run the show, because that would be very interesting to see how an avowed Democratic Socialist runs a show different than an unavowed Democratic Socialist like the Obamas or the Clintons. But I'm almost, I call him Uncle Bernie. He's the guy that's in the room, hey, pull my finger, that kind of guy. And I'm not so sure at this point that it wouldn't be a bad idea to let's just explode the whole thing. Let's just blow it up. I mean,
what it might do is make the idiot millennials that have never had a job, and I can say this lovingly because I have 2 kids, and they don't expect a job. I think my kids were a little bit more on the cusp before the Bernie stuff came in, but I'm seeing it with Don's kids because they're about 5 years younger than mine. Yeah. And there's no inkling to get a job because at this point they think there's no point in it. And maybe if they attempted to get a job and Bernie Sanders were president and they'd have to realize that 97% of their paycheck was going to the government, they might wake up and realize, hey, socialism and communism isn't all cracked up to be. And maybe you shouldn't wear that Che Guevara T-shirt.
Yeah. Well, I want to here, before we go to the break, we got to go to break in about 3 or 4 minutes. And I've got one of my listeners out here just harping on me. He is I guess a big fan of yours. As soon as he said, Donna, from Fox News, that kind of thing. And I want to ask the question for him. He had a question here. I'll ask it for him because I don't want to tie the line up. He asked, is there anything that you did while you were at Fox News or any time that you spent with him that you regretted?
That I regretted?
Yeah.
Gosh. No, not really. I really enjoyed it. And I hate to say it, it really was a very nice place to work. I left in almost 2008, late 2007. It was really attempting to be a journalistic organization. Mm-hmm. I hate to say it, that I just can't say that anymore. I don't feel that way anymore. Isn't that a terrible thing to say? I revere what Roger Ailes did, even to this day. I think he kind of did what Rush Limbaugh did for talk radio. He tried to bring it to the television. Mm-hmm. But I also think right now Fox is getting tied up in some things that it's almost turning into CNN in some ways, that it's kind of becoming the news instead of reporting the news, unfortunately. But as far as when I was there, no, I can tell you I have some unbelievable memories. I had one memory that I did a press conference, believe it or not, when Saddam Hussein was running for president. Mm-hmm. And I jokingly sat down at the desk because my producer said, hey, Donna, you got to go in. We got to do a special report. We're going to get the election results from Iraq. And I jokingly said, oh, what did he get, 95% of the vote? And he got 99, like 8% of the vote. It was insane. And then he gave this rambling speech, and obviously we had to listen through a translator, and he sounded like he was high, I'll be honest with you. He totally made no sense. Yeah. I can imagine, I believe dictators get that way after a while. I think the crazed person of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, is the same way when he speaks. But, the people are, and Castro, same thing. Castro, when Obama went there, chock full the audience, when Obama was speaking, mm-hmm. with people who he said, you better behave. You better be on your best behavior. And nobody realizes that because we've been such a free country here that we don't realize how good we do have it. And I'm hoping that we realize it before it's gone.
Well, it may be. We may be in that position where it needs to be taken away from us before we appreciate what we have. Sometimes that's the way it works, you know. I often relate things to the biblical aspect of, you watch the oppression and the captivity and then the release of a nation like Israel. You read through the Bible, the cycle, and the cycle is when you get too big for your britches, God sends the prophets, and we're out here telling them, this is coming down the pipe, and if they don't listen, there's judgment, and then we start all over again. This is kind of how it works.
The Holy Roman Empire. Ring a bell?
Yeah. Anyway, I got
something. You sent me an email about this Joe Manchin possibly being a running mate.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That would really totally hand it to Hillary. I know people in West Virginia, and he is extremely unpopular.
Yeah.
He's killing the coal industry, and Hillary's already doing that on her own.
Yeah.
So he tries to be saying he's got more conservative values, but he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. You got to watch out for him too.
Right. Well, we got to take a real quick short break here. This is our short break here. We'll be right back. We have Donna Fiducia from Red State Talk Radio. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Okay, folks, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I have with me Donna Fiducia from Red State Talk Radio. She does a show with Don Newen out there called Cowboy Logic? Is that
Cowboy Logic Radio? It started as actually the Facebook page because we have a 62-acre horse farm now after I left Fox, moved down to the Atlanta area and tried to raise horses, and that kind of tanked just as badly as the journalism profession did for me. Yeah. And so it grew because Don is actually a professional musician. He toured with groups like the Marshall Tucker Band years ago. And so we had a studio in the basement anyhow, and we started, and it grew. If you go to cowboylogic.us, you can get all the information on the show. And our network is redstatetalkradio.com.
Right.
And there's 50 different shows, as you well know, and that will give you the whole schedule of the various shows and when they're on. Our show is actually on Tuesday night at midnight Eastern Time now, as we find with Internet that it is more listened to, believe it or not, after midnight. I guess people are done watching TV and they put the radio on, so that helps.
Right.
And last month, we had almost 90,000 listener hours
in the
various ways, which is amazing. We've got iPhone apps. You can listen on the web, podcasts, the whole 9 yards. So there's different ways you can listen whenever it's convenient.
Oh, I know. Coming on with Red State Talk Radio, and then I hooked up with another network. And just between those two, we're carried on about 8 affiliates right now. But the two between you and the other one, we hit, I think, pretty close to 2 million listeners last year. So I'm just totally excited about being part of the network over there. And most of the shows, there are a few shows I would question, but I'm not the producer, so it doesn't make any difference. But I in a few moments that we have left here, I wanted to kind of get a feel from you, if you can give me one, an opinion. Do you think we are going to end up here at a brokered convention, or do you think this thing will fall in line and process out the way it's supposed to?
Well, I really don't think it's going to be a brokered convention because I think there are so many Trump supporters out there, and there's a lot of blue dog Democrats, Reagan Democrats that are voting for Trump that the rhinos that are running the Republican Party don't see. I'll tell you what I don't trust is I don't trust Paul Ryan as far as I can throw him.
Right. I'm with you there.
I have horses, like I said, and the first thing you look at is the eye of the animal to really see inside their psyche almost and their intent and goodness of them. And Paul Ryan and John Boehner had those same crazy eyes. If they were horses, I'd never buy them. That's the only thing I can say. Ryan said, I don't want to be Speaker of the House. Then he begrudgingly takes it. Now he says, I don't want to be president. But behind closed doors, both he and Romney, I believe, have actually filed paperwork to run.
Yeah,
and I just don't trust this guy as far as I can throw him.
Yeah, you just hit on something that we've been floating here the last few days here, is that what I'm suspecting what's going to happen here is that Ryan and Romney will go out on a third ticket and try to keep 270 electoral votes going to either Hillary or whoever the Republican nominee is, and then that puts the selection process of the president in front of the House of Representatives.
And you got to realize Paul Ryan couldn't even carry Wisconsin for Mitt Romney. I mean, he's totally inside the Beltway establishment politician. Nobody wants to have anything to do with this guy as far as the voting public is concerned. They see through it. And that's why the outsiders like Trump and Cruz are striking a nerve. Now, whether Cruz gets kind of endorsed by the Bushes, I mean, that's unfortunate. But as far as I'm concerned, I think Ted Cruz is a very honorable man from what I've met him and what I've gotten to know him, through the years and just watching how he operates.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's probably why I am so discombobulated about even associating himself with what he refers to as the cartel. We're out of time, Donna, and I wanted to give you time to plug your show and everything that you're doing. Anything you want to promote right now, you've got a couple minutes to do it.
Well, just real quick, what I wanted to say with Cruz is I believe if it does possibly go down to the last few hundred delegates, I don't think that he's going to let it go to brokered convention. I think he's honorable enough to give his delegates to Donald Trump. That's just my gut feeling.
Uh-huh.
If you go to cowboylogic.us, you can get all the information on our show or redstatetalkradio.com, and we hope everybody listens. It's great to be back on the radio. I tried to retire, and unfortunately it didn't work because after 2008, we basically sat here one day, Don and I, and said, we're not going to take it anymore. We got to try to wake up the masses, and we're trying. I hope it's working. It seems like we're striking a nerve. Everybody that's in the same boat like you, John, are trying to wake up the masses because we got to do what the mainstream media is not.
Yeah, I agree with you. I retired a couple of years ago and thought I was going to lead an easy life, and the show was just something I did as a sidekick, It was something I did on the side. But when Obama came in office, it was like, no, we got to go hardcore here. I'll do this till I die because that's just the nature of the beast here. I want to thank you so much, Donna, for you taking time. I know you're busy. Come on and talk to us here. Perhaps I'd love to have you back on sometime.
Anytime, John. I'm going to go out now and feed the horses because it's dinner time here on the East Coast.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what it is. Okay, thank you so much, dear. I gotta sign off here and get our bills paid. Thanks so much.
Thank you, John.
All right, take care. God bless. Okay,
Bye-bye.
guys, it's time for the Edwards Notebook, and then we'll pay some bills. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We got a lot more for you coming up next hour.
Is Black America in more dire straits today? Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, every time I hear progressive black American politicians, community organizers, professors, or certain preachers, the complaints are always the same. America is racist. The police are out to kill us. Black Lives Matter. Oh, I almost forgot. The other standby complaint, we be held down by the man. Unfortunately, the legions of black American government school victims are hardwired for duty in the army of progressive destruction of American society. I find it ironic that during the height of, or low of American segregation during the early to mid-20th century, black Americans were mostly upwardly mobile. They didn't sit around seeking to live off the government handouts or beg to be allowed into white-owned or dominated establishments, at least until the civil or bastardized rights movement. Segregation was seen as something to overcome. Black neighborhoods throughout America during the 1930s, the 1940s, and 50s were chock full of businesses ranging from mom-and-pop grocery stores to 4- and 5-star hotels in cities like Cleveland, Detroit, and the famous Harlem in New York City. Just so no one gets it twisted, I am not advocating segregation by any means, but rather making astute observations concerning segregation during the 20th century and today's version of segregation. Of course, today, black people can walk into any public park, business, church, etc. without wrongful treatment from racist Democrats or their allies, the KKK. Thank God. Every so often, I look at old pictures of American cities and neighborhoods. I marvel at the huge numbers of businesses that used to line the avenues of boulevards of black neighborhoods in decades past. In fact, during the late 1930s until the mid-1960s, there were a very little difference between most black city neighborhoods and their white working-class enclaves, which were also full of many businesses. Business vacancies were the exception, not the norm, such as you will find in most major city neighborhoods of today. Even when it comes to vacations, blacks were banned from many amusement parks, beaches, resorts, but they didn't sit around and cry like little babies. Black Americans acted like adults, purchased land, and built their own resorts, and enjoyed life. In the 1930s, black American entrepreneur George W. Tyson saw the Democrats' segregation policy as an opportunity to create business prosperity for himself and others. So he purchased 47 acres of beachfront property in Horry County, South Carolina. Tyson soon constructed the Black Hawk nightclub, which became a very popular location for blacks living in the area. Since Tyson did well, he was able to persuade other black entrepreneurs to open businesses in the community. In 1936, Tyson had 10 purchases for plots on his land from other black businessmen. Those businesses thrived as well. The tract along what became the Atlantic Beach was eventually filled with eateries, hotels, banks, and many smaller shops. People from all over visited and vacationed throughout the area. Because of Democrat KKK segregationists' practices and laws, Atlantic Beach also became the host for many prominent black American singers who performed at nearby Myrtle Beach. Unfortunately, the fun was blown away by a double whammy consisting of Hurricane Hazel in 1954. Some entrepreneurs rebuilt, but the fatal blow came as a result of anti-segregation laws being enforced and blacks more than eager to spend their money where they had been refused before. By the mid-1960s, business owners in the now downtrodden resort area were determined to revitalize its economic status and preserve its history. Unfortunately, the well-meaning efforts to renew the historic black businesses and resorts fell flat and remains an area of abandonment to this day. That scenario was repeated throughout the Republic because, unlike other ethnic groups, blacks were persuaded through the civil rights, or as my dad called it, the bastardized rights movement, to relinquish economic pursuits for socialist, liberal-oriented politics. A comparative few black Americans have succeeded in the political and community activist class, which has steered the American black community into a bitter anti-free market mentality. At the same time, government schools have indoctrinated generations of black Americans with an anti-American, you-owe-me mentality, which has contributed to the reversal of fortunes, financially, socially, and mentally. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com.
You can catch all our archives at the theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
It's a latter-day prophet, weighing against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Hey, and we're back. And this is hour 2, believe it or not. Hour 2. Boy, time flies when you're having fun. And I am your host, John Matthews. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And I hope you enjoyed that segment with Donna Fiducia. And there was some stuff I wanted specifically from her. I wanted to know what was going on in CPAC, because as I watch things continuing to unfold here in this primary process that we're all experiencing it to one degree or another, some of us are getting a kick out of it. Some of us, there's just a lot of things going on here. And I am on a quest. And I am on a quest to understand the establishment on both sides of the political aisle as much as, or as well, if not better, than I understand Scripture. because to me they're one walks with the other, or one walks against the other, if I can put it that way. What I'm getting at here, since my primary mission on the Conservative Syndicate is to tear down the wall of separation between church and state, or what I call the imaginary wall of separation between church and state, is because the reason I do this, this is my mission, is because I do not believe there is a difference between the spiritual and the material in terms of how they interact with each other. I do not believe that the morality of a government or a people or a nation can be separated from the government that runs it. And so when you look at some of the world nations out there, what's going on? Look over in the Middle East right now and look at what they have, and it's based on their theocracy, that we kill everybody that's not one of us kind of thing. And they oppress their people. They oppress their women. They beat their women. Did you know that it's my understanding that when Muslims marry, where most of us, we're looking forward to the honeymoon so that we can be with our sweetie. And if you're a man, you know what you're thinking about. And if you're a woman, you know what you're thinking about. The man is thinking about, whoopee time. And the woman is thinking about, security or whatever it is that's out there. In Islam, my understanding is that on the wedding night, they beat the wife. And then they beat the wife for the purpose of letting it known, okay, from here on out, I'm the boss and you do what I tell you. And so I'm talking about oppression here. And so you look at these types of governments and the oppression. Look at governments over in Asia, some of the other governments over there. Look at Hinduism and all the other things that are out there. What is it? Buddhism, stuff like that. Imagine a religion that the whole center of the religion is trying to get you to become nothingness. If you become nothingness, then you become everything. I mean, what a paradoxical contradiction in terms, right? So this whole idea of religion and separation and everything else, I put it all in one. It's all in one boat to me. It's all the same. And the reason the country we live in now, perhaps the greatest country in the world, because the only country, as far as I know, the only country that was founded on the establishment of Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. And because of that, we have been blessed the way we have been blessed. But like other nations, when you get too prosperous, you look at the great empires, the Persian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, all Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, and what was it that brought them down? It was a turn away from any sense of morality. Now, morality is always relative when you're dealing with godless nations, but my point being is that there has always been an inherent desire or an inherent understanding, let me put it that way, an inherent understanding of man that there is such a thing as right and wrong. And when you start to deconstruct these arguments that we see out here today in the terms of political correctness and in redefining what evil is and what good is and everything else, you are setting yourself up for a fall. Because God is absolute. God does not change. He's not going to change his opinion because you feel good or bad about yourself or anything else. And so that's what I do here. And not everybody I bring on the show is for the purpose of just, preach to the choir. I don't bring people on this show. It's been a long time since I've actually gone out of my way to go out and find some people out there that are just out there in the realm out there somewhere. I've been relying a lot on my contributors. That's why I set the panel up the way I did. I found people that I trust and I like. But even those people, if you listen to them, I don't agree with everything they say. If you remember a few weeks ago, we had quite a lively round between Karen Sigmund, who was a Marco Rubio supporter. I don't know who she's supporting now, but and me being a Ted Cruz supporter. I've had people on here, Bob Cardosa, who likes Donald Trump. I'm not really ecstatic about a Donald Trump presidency. And so, I sometimes go out and pick people that I disagree with because that keeps the dialogue going. If we all just get on the air every day and just talk about what we all agree on, I'm sorry, that gets a little monotonous to me. That just isn't my nature. I like to talk, I like to debate, I like dialogue, and I like doing it with people that can articulate what they believe. And they don't have to agree with me. So that's something in the 8 years I've been on radio, that's what I do. I try to find people that will stimulate the conversation, and they don't have to be people on my side. You'd be surprised the number of liberals that I talk with on a regular basis and don't agree on anything. We don't even agree on the time of day. Of course, most of that's because of the time zones. But I still have respect for them because they can articulate why they believe what they believe. May not agree with them, seldom agree with them, but at the end of the day, I can, throw them a kiss and say, hey, I love you. We're all God's kids. You just happen to be wrong, if I can put it that way. But anyway, so I just hope you enjoyed that. I got the information I wanted. The CPAC seems like they were very intent on Cruz, but there's a lot going on in the Trump camp. Who knows if Trump had shown up at the CPAC, if it might have been a different outcome. I don't know. But I wanted to know. I want to know what's going on there. So I hope you got something out of that. Anyway, what I'm going to do now, we're going to go to a break. This is our short segment. We're going to go to our break. When I come back, I want to address some of the things that are just going on out there just today. We had the Utah and Arizona primaries last night. The results are in here. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I really want to, I guess I just have to get this off my chest. My issues now with Ted Cruz. I've really got an issue with him, and I don't know what I'm going to do about it. So maybe, as the kind of person I am, I'm one of these people, if I can vocalize what I'm thinking, and usually by the time I get done talking, I figure out what I'm going to do. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. And we are back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. And I am your host, John Matthews, man, prophet of the airways, and I am glad to be with you this second hour here on the Conservative Syndicate. Now, let's get into, I know this is going to sound a little bit trivial, but I really need to drive this point home. I tried to bring it forward when we were talking with Donna Fiducia last hour, but I really want to, just between you and me, and really just kind of bring this thing full circle here and explain. Sometimes the trivial stuff is where you find the real truth. And, a lot of times little sound bites, when the left screws up and reveals the truth to you in a little sound bite. Something like the other day, Bill Clinton saying, if you want to undo the failing legacy of the last 8 years, you need to vote for Hillary. Okay, that is a slip of the tongue, but it is if I can use the biblical principle, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And one thing about liberals that's really great is that if you let them talk long enough, they'll actually tell you what they're really thinking rather than what they think you want to hear. And a slip like that is something that now the Clinton campaign now is going to slow her down in terms of steamrolling over Bernie Sanders. But they have to devote some time to it, because one of the things they have to do, they have to be very careful. The Clintons have to be very careful about saying or doing anything that tarnishes the Obama legacy. Because if you piss off Obama that way, he's going to do something through his elements out there, through his contacts, and we've seen it a couple of times here, and it will happen. And you'll never pin the blame on him, but it will happen. And everybody that is in the know will know where it came from, but it won't make any difference because it will have accomplished its purpose. So what I'm saying is that you hear and see things, and sometimes in a moment of haste, of not really listening to what a question is, or maybe you're just in a bad mood and somebody says something to you and you let the truth slip out. Well, this little Twitter war that's going on right now between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz over a picture of his wife, which, by the way, I don't know why Trump is so upset about it to begin with. That picture has been around for as long as I can remember. I mean, somebody showed me that thing 2 years ago, for crying out loud. Provocative picture. Okay, so what? It's what it is. Okay, the woman was a trophy wife on the hunt, and she landed Donald. Okay, maybe she's the smartest one out of all of them. I don't know. But my whole thing here is that when these kind of things happen, it's interesting to watch how the person who's targeted responds. Okay, Ted Cruz has a super PAC out there. Now, the rules with the super PAC, as stated in the public domain, is that the candidates can have no association with these PACs at all. That's what the Supreme Court allows. They can have these super PACs, and you can go out there and dump as much money into campaigns as you want, but you can't work hand in hand with the candidate. It's kind of a backwards way of doing things. It's a behind the back door kind of thing. But that's the way it is. That's just the way it is. And in the process of all this, I guess somebody in a super PAC that is supporting Ted Cruz puts a picture out there of Donald Trump's wife, Melania, who, by the way, again, a picture that I guess it was in Gentleman's Quarterly years ago. I don't know how many years ago. But, I do my research, but I don't research crap like that. But apparently, and it's a picture that I've seen off and on again across social media, like I said, several years now that I can think of, that every now and then it pops up somewhere. Somebody wanted, oh, yeah, this is going to be our next first lady, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what? I'd rather look at her than Michelle Obama, if you want me to be honest about it. And certainly better than looking at somebody like Hillary Clinton, for crying out loud. So, that's just what it is. That doesn't mean I'm going to go hide in a closet somewhere, and do the dirty. I'm just saying that's just the nature of the beast. I'd rather look at a good-looking woman than an ugly one. I'm sorry, excuse me. Maybe I'm chauvinistic or sexist, whatever. But anyway, Donald Trump, here we are in heat of the battle, and Donald Trump, never missing an opportunity to be an asshat, decides he's going to respond to it. And he comes out and tweets back at Ted Cruz. Oh, Ted Cruz, that's some low-level ad you did using a picture of Melania in GQ shoot. Be careful or I will spill the beans on your wife. Now, Donald Trump knows that if this came from a super PAC, that Ted Cruz had nothing to do with it, per se. Okay? Per se. That's all I'm saying. I don't believe and buy for a moment that these people that have these super PACs out there running exempt from government intervention and regulation and rules and everything else don't have some knowledge of what's going on in these PACs. Now, they may not be conversing with them, but somebody is. Somebody knows what's going on. And if you're getting a third or fourth hand from an aide somewhere, just so you know what's happening, somebody's monitoring it, because you don't want somebody setting up a PAC for you that turns around and starts putting out Anthony Weiner pictures on the phone and saying, hey, this is your buddy, that kind of stuff. So there's got to be people monitoring these PACs. But anyway, Donald Trump decides to do what Donald Trump does. He takes the opportunity to go after somebody and slander them, because apparently Donald Trump lives in a world of 145 characters. He can't a lot of times when I listen to him talk, he's a lot like listening to some of these other people where expound on your policies. Give me some substance as to what you're going to do with foreign policy. Mr. Trump, how are you going to deal with immigration? Oh, we're going to build a wall. Okay, how are you going to build that wall? Well, we're going to build it big. Okay, well, how are you going to build it big? Well, who's going to pay for it? Oh, they're going to pay for it. How are they going to pay for it? Because they're going to pay for it. That is the Donald Trump mantra. I've never heard him really sit down and say, he's started to expound a little bit on it lately, that we're going to get Mexico because they have a $53 billion trade deficit. But he's never equated that into, okay, how is that going to get Mexico to pay for the wall? He's saying, we're going to make a deal. Okay? See, there's nothing there that gives you any substance as to how are you going to make a deal with a guy that just told you that, or is speaking for a government, he's not president anymore, but the guy just told you he's not paying for any effing wall from Donald Trump. Okay? Do you think that does not reflect the leadership that's down there in Mexico right now, even though Vincent is not the president? He comes out, you think the guy down in Mexico, the president of Mexico, sitting down there going, gee, I got to figure out how to pay for this wall? No, they're all saying the same thing. They're flipping him the bird, saying, no, Donald, we're not going to pay for this. So now I said, well, we got a $53 billion deficit, and we're going to work out a deal. Well, how are you going to work out the deal? What are you going to do? Are you going to take a certain amount of money that they from commerce that they bring in here to pay for that wall? Are you going to do something with the monetary system? Are you going to manipulate the dollar to the peso or whatever it is? How are you going to do this? Well, we don't get those kind of details, okay? So I said all that just to reiterate my point, is that Trump does not speak in substance. He speaks in 145 characters or less. That's his mentality. That's the way he talks. He's a businessman. I guess in a business meeting, you're sitting there going, make it happen, and that's all you have to say. This is what I want. Make it happen. you're fired. That kind of stuff. The depth of his conversations with people that he deals with. And so, that is what it is. I'm not criticizing that. I'm just recognizing for what it is. So anyways, he shoots this tweet out here and tells Cruz, be careful, I'll spill the beans on your wife. Well, the natural reaction of everybody is, oh my God, what deep, dark secret does Donald Trump have about Heidi Cruz? Well, okay, it could be one of two things. The fact that she has suffered from depression, she's been treated for that, or maybe she's a director for Goldman Sachs. Those are not deep, dark secrets to anybody that's out there looking or listening or watching what's going on. What other trash could you dig up, Trump? I don't know. But that's Trump. That's the way Trump is. That's the way he responds to things. That's the way he deals with things. He bullies, he antagonizes, he chastises, and he usually does it in 145 characters or less. Okay? That's just the way it is. Okay? So that's the nature of the beast that you're dealing with. But for Ted Cruz to respond the way that he did, he basically disavowed that it came from anything that he had anything to do with it in terms of it being a PAC. Okay? He basically says, the pick of your wife, not from us, Donald. If you try to attack Heidi, you're more of a coward than I thought. That's how Ted Cruz responded to it. So you got this little Twitter going back and forth between these two guys, and the media just milking it for all it's worth, that kind of thing, and which is what the media does. That's what they do. They like to milk this stuff. It's kind of like a soap opera. Boy, if you can make something sensational, it's so much better than if it's just regular news. That's why the news doesn't report the news anymore unless they can make it sensationalistic. There's got to be death, there's got to be violence, there's got to be sex, there's got to be something in it that makes the average viewer or listener want to view or listen to it, which is, again, a reflection on the country that we live in, which now goes back full circle to what I'm saying. We're imploding because of our own immorality, not the immorality of our politicians. We put these people in office because in our own lives, we don't seem to care enough to know what's going on behind all these closed doors that we're constantly bitching about. We're constantly bitching about what Washington is doing and how the government's screwing us, but we apparently don't care enough to really understand why it's happening. And it's happening because we put these people in power. We keep them in power. Hillary Clinton, listen to this, guys. 80% of the Democrats in the Democrat Party think that Hillary Clinton is dishonest and corrupt. And yet she's kicking Bernie Sanders' ass in the primary. She's winning at 30 to 40 points in every single primary, and yet the people don't trust her. But they're electing her anyway. So what's a reflection on who's at fault here? I'm not going to go into that because I want to get to another point. Cruz did the wrong thing by not responding in a way that would have disavowed that he had anything to do with this, other than shooting out a tweet saying, Donald, we didn't put the picture up there. The PAC doesn't belong to. He didn't even acknowledge that the PAC didn't even have anything to do with him. He's just saying the pick of your wife is not from us. Okay? I'll tell you what I would have done. I would have gone, and he was on CBS News this morning. If we have some time, we may talk about that later. Because he was raked over the coals. He handled himself very well. But the point is, on CBS News this morning, the first thing I would have said to Gail and Charlie Rose and the other bimbo that was there with him, I would have said, hey, look, before we start this interview, I want to right now disavow. There was a picture put out about Donald Trump's wife, and it was accredited from a PAC that is supporting me. I do not condone, I do not endorse what they did. And Donald, by the way, I apologize to you and your wife, Melania. It did not come from us. And, I'm really sorry. I hope you can take this with a grain of salt and we can move on. That's what I would have done. He didn't do that, didn't address it. He just kind of came back with his own little tweet. And I don't know if it's because we're in the heat of the battle, and he needs to pick up those extra delegates. He's behind Trump. He's not far behind, like, say, Kasich, but he is behind. And mathematically, it's getting harder and harder to get there. And I don't know if in the heat of the battle that he just thought, oh, you know what, let's just play it for the publicity that it's worth. Let's get something out of this. which now leads me to the next topic, which I'm going to have to do after the break here, which is, how in the hell did you get involved with the Bushes? What were you thinking, dude? And you're out there with Mitt Romney now, and you took an endorsement by Lindsey Graham, the worst of the establishment, the people that you have been ranting about, the people that have wanted to shoot you in the head. I think it was Lindsey Graham once said they would need to shoot this guy. And you're now bedding down with him just because you're in the heat of a battle with somebody who, if you just stayed the course and did what you do, you would be okay. That's my point. That's my point. We got to go to break. When we come back, I'll continue my white man rant right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Right now, it's time for Moments of Madness. We'll be right back on Moments of Madness. The recent violence that has begun to appear across the country at Donald Trump rallies underscores the truth embedded in the old adage, those who failed to learn from history are too often the idiots that blindly repeat it. Beginning with the removal of Black Lives Matter activists in Georgia, who may have, in all fairness, just wanted to stand silently in protest during Trump's speech, to the sucker punching of a protester being removed for disrupting Trump's speech in North Carolina by a Willie Nelson-looking cowboy, to the 37 arrests for assault, including a very bloody protester in St. Louis, to the nearly riotous outburst in Chicago that led to the hospitalization of several attendees, among them a MoveOn.org organizer. These series of incidences resurrect for those of us old to remember the 1968 Democratic National Convention. The 68 Democratic Convention was a brokered convention brought about by Lyndon Johnson declining to run for re-election, along with the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy within a month of each other. Kennedy was running a close second to then Vice President Hubert Humphrey, who had garnered establishment delegates outside traditional primary protocol. Humphrey was the establishment choice. Kennedy, an anti-Vietnam supporter, the people's savior. Also present at the 68 convention was the anti-establishment movement Youth International Party, known as YIPPY, led by Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, and the National Mobilization Committee to End the War in Vietnam, called MOBI, led by David Dellinger. Over the course of 4 days, violence routinely erupted on the streets of Chicago, resulting in 589 arrests, 119 and 100 injuries to police and protesters, respectively, and the death of a 17-year-old stopped for a curfew violation who pulled a weapon and fired upon officers. Here's the madness. Parallels between the 68 convention and what we see playing out today are more than eerie. For instance, there is once again the prospect of a DNC brokered convention, this time to ensure an establishment nominee wins with superdelegates should the current frontrunner with more than a shady past be indicted. Her opponent is a populist socialist lauded by the college crowd who feels the burn. Just as chilling is the even more serious prospect of a GOP brokered convention to stop a populist who refuses to play by establishment rules and in doing so has captured demographics establishment candidates can only dream of. Following the 68 convention, another radical group formed at Ann Arbor, Michigan by Students for a Democratic Society called SDS. Founded by a radicalized Bill Ayers, the Weather Underground capitalized on the anti-Vietnam movement and the rise of the Black Panthers. The Weathermen, as they came to be called, participated in bombings of police stations and government installations like the Pentagon, along with riots that coincided with the trial of the Chicago 7, those who had been arrested on conspiracy charges the year before during the 68 Democratic Convention. Today, college campuses across the country have their own underground. Black Lives Matter, many of them who are being trained by MoveOn.org, who we now see showing up in larger and larger number at Trump rallies. The only impartiality they display is the fact they squeeze in an occasional Clinton event on their quest to whine and moan about their identity dilemma. And who do these self-proclaimed disenfranchised college youths look for inspiration? None other than Bernie Sanders, self-avowed democratic socialist who spews forth his own revolutionary rhetoric of government overthrow through redistribution economics. Yes, the parallels are as uncanny as they are eerie. Even more frightening, though, is the prospect this time around. While everyone acknowledges the inmates are running the asylum, no one in charge seems to care enough to put any of them back in their straitjackets. My guess is they just want to watch history repeat itself. Unfortunately, there are enough idiots running the streets to make it so. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. And we're back. And you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, and I am the mad prophet of the airways. Sometimes madder than others, and sometimes calmer than others, but hey, that's what makes me a prophet. That's what prophets do. And we're up and we're down, but we're never off message. We know where we're going, we know what we're doing, and we know why we're doing it. I don't know why I said that. I just felt like saying it. I'm kind of getting into that kind of mood where I'm just saying what I feel like. After just sitting here espousing to everybody that you got to be careful about what you say. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, I was talking about this issue here. See, I'm so, I don't know. I am just like 99.9% of the way there where I'm just saying, you know what? I'm done with Cruz. I'm done with Cruz because of his association with the Bushes. I could deal with the other stuff. I could deal with the Lindsey Graham endorsement. So freaking what? I mean, it's just like Lindsey, okay, his following, okay, endorsement from Lindsey Graham, that's like telling me that you're in the audience that listens to Chris Matthews on MSNBC. Yeah, Chris's mom and his cousins, you know, that kind of thing. Big deal. Who cares? You know, even Mitt Romney, who cares? I mean, here's a guy, here's an operative that's out of work. Apparently he's bored. He's looking for something to do. And, you know, because the guy's got enough money, he doesn't have to worry about anything. You know, some of these guys I think that are behind in the they're part of the establishment. I think they do this for, you know, kicks and giggles. They have nothing else to do. They've made all their money. Now they're just sitting around watching, watching the grandkids play on the porch or whatever. And, listen to the old lady nagging about her latest bingo loss or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what they do. So they're out there doing something, think they're doing something, and they're just so locked into their ways and their tradition. But this thing with the Bush really bothers me because the Bushes are one of those people, one of those families that I in the past had endorsed and voted for. And come to find out, I'd been lied to and deceived. You know, I was a big Bush fan his first term, and I was probably his biggest basher by the time he left office. George H.W. Bush, I never liked to begin with. And I just never liked the guy. There's just something about him. I just never liked him. He reminded me of an uncle I had that I just didn't like. And the way he talked and the way he carried himself and this kind of this demeanor of, hey, I'm the guy. I'm the man. And you just kind of, if I want to pay attention to you, I will. That's how George H.W. Bush was to me, for me. And there's only two other people that I've ever voted for that have just really just burned me bad. Richard Nixon was one. Very first president I ever voted for was Richard Nixon. And he ended up burning me with the Watergate thing. And, that really just bothered me, that somebody would be so psychopathic, paranoid, and would manage to make it in office. But here we look today, we got Barack Obama, probably the biggest narcissist since Hitler, for crying out loud. And he served 2 terms because the electorate is too stupid to know a narcissist and a tyrant when they see one, because they're all wrapped up in their own little desires and what they want to do. So the Bushes, Nixon, and Schwarzenegger, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who ran for governor out here, and I went for him. Although my gut check, I had a gut check on Schwarzenegger. He was married to a Kennedy, and I remember the first thing I said was, how can anybody be a Republican and be married to a Kennedy? Especially if it's a woman Kennedy, because she controls the bed. But I went against my gut check and thought, well, we were in dire need of some change out here in California. Gray Davis was selling us down the toilet just like Barack Obama sold us down the toilet, just like Governor Moonbeam Jerry Brown out here has sold us down the toilet. And we need something. See, that's what I'm afraid of here with Trump. I'm kind of like, well, we need something to stop this bleeding. But what happens if this guy turns out to be like a Schwarzenegger, who says all the right things all the right way, and his celebrity carries him in, and we find out that this guy is just another jackass in elephant skin? That's what I fear. That's my fear. And that's why I've been so slow to jump on the Trump bandwagon. I don't care that his rhetoric is crude and rude and everything else. I don't care. Yeah, maybe we need more of that. We need to call somebody who is a bimbo a bimbo. We need to call somebody who's an idiot an idiot. Of course, we do that here all the time. But it's different when you're running for public office. But I'm saying, okay, out with those rules. Okay, yeah, let's call Obama what he is. He's a narcissist. He's evil. He's everything that we aren't as Americans. And yet he's portraying himself as the poster child for American values. I hate hearing a liberal talk about American values. It's not who we are as Americans. You don't even know who we are as Americans, for crying out loud. That's not the values that we have as Americans. Oh, baloney. We have always been a warring nation, for crying out loud, ever since World War II. Let's be honest here. We've taken it upon ourselves, for God knows what reason, to go out and free the world from all the tyrants that are out there. Not something I condone. I just as soon let them all, deal with your own problems. But that's been what we've done, because that's what something like American exceptionalism does. It motivates you to bring others into your fold and let them experience and know the prosperity and the blessing of the freedom that we really have, that no other nation probably has ever had in its life, with maybe the exception of the Roman Republic. But then again, they had their own issues too, did they not? So anyway, Cruz, in my opinion, really mishandled this thing. And he's mishandled a couple of things. He's really bad at telling jokes. I hope this guy, if he gets elected president, doesn't try to tell jokes during the State of the Union message. He'll fall flat. It'll be crickets. Politicians are hard to make laugh anyways. Cruz won't even make them smile. But going along with the Bushes, bringing the Bushes onto your team, I probably could have stomached saying, okay, Jeb Bush and Neil Bush have endorsed Ted Cruz. The same way Lindsey Graham has endorsed Ted Cruz. Well, you can't pick who endorses you. But you bring the most crooked of the group onto your finance team, and I'm not talking about Jeb. I'm talking about Neil Bush. This guy is something else. We're talking about a man who has conspired with Bill Gates to write a curriculum for Common Core while they're telling everybody there is going to be no curriculum for Common Core, and setting it up with a London publishing company to the tune of $35 a pop, designing the curriculum so that nobody really understands what it is, guaranteed to fail at least once or twice before you pass, and questions that are skewed based on the person's ability to answer. We used to call that grading on the curve. Remember that phrase when you were in high school? Grading on the curve? We grade on a curve saying, okay, the difficulty of the test itself determines the grade in terms of how we're going to grade it. And that's what Common Core is all about. We've talked about in the show about how it's designed to make everybody feel good about who they are, and at the same time make them feel like they're intelligent even if they're not, because we're more worried about personality problems than we are about studying and arithmetic and all, the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, that kind of thing. We're more worried about the self-esteem of our children than telling them to buck up, sissy pants. If you flunk the test, you study harder next time. So what happens in a Common Core test? You ask 2 students the same question. One answers it right, they move on. The other one answers it wrong, they get another question, but it's easier. And so you keep dumbing down the questions until such time that you get the right answer. And so that is the one that is counted. So your grade is going to be the same as the one who studied, who put the time in, hit the books, and got the hard questions. And now you all graduate and you go out into the real world, or you go out into college where you learn how to protest and slam the people that are paying your scholarship because they're not paying enough. And then bitch about the fact that you had to borrow the money and now you're upset that you have to pay it back. There you go. There's the result. That's what Common Core is. And Neil Bush is the main guy. Him and Bill Gates are the main people behind Common Core. Ted Cruz has stood up in so many debates, Common Core, no, Common Core, no. And you bring the main guy onto your finance team? I'll tell you, the more I talk, the more it pisses me off. And I'm just ready to turn and say, yeah, let's burn it down. Let's just bring the Trump machine in and burn it down. And wherever we go, that's where we go. Because it doesn't look like it's going anywhere good real soon. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll continue. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. we're back. And you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And just been one of those days, kind of melancholy, I don't know, a little bittersweet here as I look at this. And I've been following this one thread on Facebook all day, all throughout the day, and I've been looking at it at the breaks here. When I posted here early this morning about Ted Cruz's response to Donald Trump's tweet about his wife. I'm going to spill the beans, whatever that means. And Trump just trying to, you're a coward, coming after my wife. We don't put the picture out there, whatever. I'm not going to rehash that. But it's amazing how these little minor topics get the most attention. This is one of the longest threads I've had on Facebook for quite a while. People responding to this post that I put out there this morning. Two camps out there as normal, as usual. The Cruz camp, which is defending him, and the Trump camp, which is bashing him. Okay? That's to be expected. Any argument is over, well, the PAC is the one that did it, and Cruz doesn't have any affiliation with that. He shouldn't be held responsible for it. The other side is, and then, Trump is also an ass. He's out there talking all the time. He's bad-mouthing people. What's the big deal? By the way, you guys didn't seem to be too bothered when people bashed Michelle Obama, that kind of stuff. It's just on and on and on. And it's why America is the way we are right now. We are so easily distracted by the minor things. And I did say this was a minor thing. It just points to a bigger issue to me when I take it and put it next to allowing the very people that you have been campaigning against to endorse you and then put one of them on your team. That is what has got my goat here. Not that the Bushes came in. We understand what's happening here. The establishment types have realized, I guess at this point, at this juncture, I'd rather have Cruz than Trump. And I really, even though I understand who Trump is, establishment guy, that kind of thing, a player, probably plays better than most of these guys, and that's maybe why he's a threat. Maybe they're afraid that he'll spill the beans on them. I don't know. But, that kind of thing where, you think, okay, well, they're just so adamant here about stopping this guy. And you look at all the things that Trump has brought to the race, aside from his rhetoric and his in-your-face tactics and everything else, who else? I can't remember anybody else in my lifetime. Reagan came close, but never to this level of people jumping the ideological ship to come over and vote for him. People bailing out of the Democrat Party, out of the Independent Party, out of the Libertarian Party, if for no other reason to come over and be able to vote for Trump because they think, hey, here's a guy that talks the way we do. It doesn't matter. I don't think it really matters at this point whether he actually does what he says he's going to do. It's that at least we have a voice. We have somebody that has been speaking the way we speak. And I give him that. I've given him kudos for that from the very beginning. But Cruz has been out there, his whole campaign, his whole tenure as a senator has been centered on one idea, and that is protecting the Constitution and taking on what he calls the cartel, the Washington cartel, the establishment, and to actually hire one of their main people. And you might say to me, well, Neil Bush is a no-name. It doesn't matter. His last name tells you everything. He's a behind-the-scenes player. Neil Bush is the epitome of what an operative is. Behind the scenes, under the radar, behind the closed doors, the deal cutter that nobody ever really knows about. But he's the guy. He is the, what's the word? The consigliere. Consigliere, I think that's the word. I'm thinking of Robert Duvall in The Godfather. The lawyer that was hired solely for the purpose of running the legal channels on everything for the Don. I can't say the name right. I think it's consigliere, something like that. You know what I'm talking about. So when we talk about this kind of stuff, or when I talk about this stuff, I'm really upset right now. I'm like, wow, you You crawled into bed with these people for what? Do you really think in the end? See, now if you get elected, Mr. Cruz, if you do get elected, something happens and you catch Donald Trump, or there's a contested convention, you guys are real close, and they choose you for whatever reason. If Romney and Paul Ryan don't go out there in the third party ticket or whatever, whatever happens out there, and you end up in the White House, how are you now going to be able to get up in front of the American public and bully the cartel, the people that you campaigned against that got you there? Your campaign was all centered on this, of taking the Washington establishment on and taking it apart and reestablishing us as a constitutional republic that has a reverence for the holy God that created us and established us. And now you're going to try to convince me that since you signed up with these guys, or you let them sign up with you, that is going to equate into resolution and solutions. It isn't going to equate into anything, because these people are just going to turn right back on you. They're going to oppose you. The only thing they have to worry about now is that you're going to go right back to being, instead of being the senator that nobody likes, you're going to be the president that nobody likes. And they're just going to stand up against you and oppose you in every way that they can. But their interests will have been protected. And there's nothing you will really say from this point on that has any real credibility, because you signed up with the very people who just months ago was telling everybody how unlikable you were, how unelectable you were, and what a nuisance you are to them, the establishment. It boggles my mind. I guess this is what happens when you get into politics at this level. You get in thinking that you're going to do something good, and the system sucks you in, chews you up, and spits you out. And there's not a whole lot that you can do about it by the time it's over. One day you look back and you go, wow, what the hell happened? There was a show on Showtime a while back called The Brotherhood. I found it to be a really interesting show because it was about two Irish brothers, which, by the way, I'm even beginning to rethink my Irish heritage, because I'm thinking a lot of the problems in our country today, what has Ireland ever contributed to the United States? What? Potatoes? Halloween? And the Kennedys? And the Bidens? And the Kerrys? And all these other people out there? And it's like, oh, wow, they really scraped the bottom of the bucket here. But you get my drift. I lost my thought there. That was going someplace. I had another thought I was going to put on top of that, but I guess not. Sometimes that just happens. Anyway, hey, we're coming up to the end of the show here. And I just want to remind everybody to visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, and you can pick up archives of this show, all of our shows. You can find out about contributors. In fact, I'll tell you this. I'll reveal this to you right now. We've actually have lost a couple of contributors on our panel because this election process has completely overwhelmed and blew them away. And so, we're going to be looking for some replacements out there, some other people to bring on, because I like the idea of bringing contributors on. You get more than one voice, and you get more than one view, and that's what I like. But some of them are just become a couple of them have just become overwhelmed, and they can't figure this out. They don't, and they become frustrated, just like so many other people. Well, we have other people jumping on the Trump bandwagon. Other people going, "Oh my God, I got to get off before this thing explodes." So that's where we're at here. I'm giving you the real deal here. I'm telling you what's really going on right now. This whole election process this time around, it has its casualties, and maybe it should. I don't know. Anyhow, we'll be back on the air tomorrow. I've got some other topics I didn't get to today that we'll get to tomorrow, and maybe I'll be able to calm down and make some sense of this. But I think for all intents and purposes right now, I might just be jumping on the Trump train because I just think maybe it is time to burn it all down. All right, we love you. We'll be back on the air tomorrow, 3 o'clock out here on the West Coast, 6 o'clock on the East Coast. Just, keep the faith. Somewhere in here, there's a silver lining. We just have to find it. God bless you all. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.